Hey, yo, what's happening, everybody? You know what time it is, Tuesday night. We back riding in the saddle again Tuesday night with my brothers, Big Sam, and my man Clifton Durham, TD3 Insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, come on in the room. Let us know where you joining us from. Tonight we're gonna have a serious conversation a little bit later on. Tonight I thought it'd be a good time, man. Seasons are about to change. We going from this horrible snow, hopefully, to a fun springtime. But before we really get into that, I wanted to talk about men, and specifically how men struggle with mental health and different things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. But that's going to be the second half of the conversation, because here on Two Mics, so we always like to start with a little fun. We always like to start with a little sports and entertainment, as we always do, just to kind of lighten the mood. But before we do, I want to allow these amazing gentlemen, take a minute, man. Introduce yourself. It's not like, if you rocking with us and you've been rocking with us, like you don't know, but gotta take a moment. Just let my brothers go ahead and jump in and introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with my brother Big A Sam Adams. Sam, go ahead, man. Let them know who you are, what you do, bro.
Well, first off, good evening. What's going on? This is your boy Sam Adams, aka Big A, aka that guy, aka Don't React or I'll React. Hope y'all doing all right this fabulous Tuesday.
Hey man, you know what? I never talked about that story, bro. Never talked about that. But we're gonna talk about that story. We're gonna talk about that one time, man.
We could bring it up when it's time for the funny.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? We're about to get it cracking. Of course, my other handle, Sarge, OSG. It's good to be here. It's always a pleasure to be with y'all too. So, I'm ready to get it on and popping. And what's going on, Duck? I see you in the background already.
What's up, Duck, man? Thank you for joining us, man. A family regular, man. We got to get you brothers back on, man. We going into that time of year, man, wrestling and all that good stuff, man. We got to get you brothers back on, man, and redo that and have some fun. But thanks for joining us, Duck, man. Good to see you. Charles, what's happening? Chelsea, I'm sorry. Good to see you again this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, Chelsea Brown, right, Cliff? Hey, remember throwback from the days, BNI, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and transition past the baton over to you, Cliff. Go ahead and reintroduce yourself to everybody.
It's your boy, Clifton Durham. Hello, everyone. TD3 Insurance Agency, powered by Encore Insurance Group. Glad to be here. Glad to be with my brothers. Here to represent. It's your favorite insurance broker, no doubt about
it. I love. Hey, look, if y'all need some business acumen when it comes to insurance, Clif is definitely your guy. Make sure you check him out. We're gonna have some things coming up in the near future where you can come out in person and hang out with us, man, and talk shop, talk business. Your business needs, and get educated on that. So, like I said, while you're all coming in, please go ahead and sit back before we get into the real conversation tonight about men's mental health and their struggles. Like I said at the top, we're gonna lighten the mood a little bit. Before we get into that, I think it's always best before you dive into a serious conversation that we lighten the mood. So before we even do that, though, I want to say thank you to tonight's sponsor for this opening segment, our friends at Tico Rico Hot Sauce. So hang tight for 30 seconds. We'll be right back after we say hello to Tico Rico.
Unleash flavor with Tico Rico Hot Sauce, made from fresh, homegrown peppers for a vibrant taste. Enjoy the perfect blend of heat and zest with our habanero and refreshing Serrano lime sauces. Ideal for tacos, seafood, or salads, Tico Rico enhances any dish. Join the Tico Rico family today and elevate your meals with our award-winning sauces. Visit us online to grab your starter kit and discover the magic of Tico Rico.
Hey, look, I'm telling y'all right now, if y'all haven't had that trio by Tico Rico, you're missing out.
Why?
Don't know, but like Sam said, go out and get that trio. It's the truth. But we're gonna start. Matter of fact, we're gonna swing it to Sam. Sam's gonna warm us up tonight, man, as we go ahead and get into our first segment of the evening. Sam.
All right. So with entertainment news, like what was discussed before, we're about to get down with the get down, but let's talk a little entertainment. So you had the NAACP awards this week, and Delroy Lindo got up, and prior to him presenting an award, he spoke about the incident that happened during the BAFTA awards.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of wanted to get y'all impact. If those who don't know, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo was up presenting an award during the BAFTAs. And out of the blue, there was an incident when John Davison, who's a Scottish actor, said a racial slur during their presentation. And I just kind of wanted to get y'all input on, like, was there anything that the producers or maybe John Davison himself should do, because he came out with an apology, but it was like, I'm apologizing, but I'm not apologizing, if you read both of them or any of them. So I kind of wanted to get y'all input on it. And to peel the onion back a little bit, apparently there were 3 other incidents too that occurred, with 2 more with people of color when the racial slur was used. And that's kind of, I know we're in this weird spot because John Davison was there because he had a movie that was out kind of like correlating his life, dealing with Tourette's and everything. So I'm not trying to take away from the issue because I know it's it's an illness. So it's like, what do we do, or what could have been done?
Well, Cliff, you want to take that? You want to start with that?
All right. So I know what Tourette's is. My education on it is not too thorough, right? It's like he had to hear it from somewhere. Someone, he's comfortable. If he said it out loud, was that his sickness? Or does he really know, what he said, right? And he has Tourette's, so is he using it as a scapegoat? I mean, no matter how you place it, when it comes to us, we're gonna take that word very, very, very seriously when it's thrown at us, right?
Right.
It's that's a touchy one, because you got the sickness, and then he had no problem with blurting that word right out. No other word in the world at that moment at an award show but that word.
Right.
Yeah.
Look,
what you got, Dave?
Man, I the timing, first of all, was ugly, and I say the timing of all of it, right? So I understand we want to be inclusive of everyone, and we want to be respectful of everyone. But I find like this always seems to happen when it's us, right? And the producers and everybody in the background and preparing for this, they knew of this gentleman's situation, and Tourette's is a very sensitive situation. Now, I don't know if that was something that has always been at the forefront of his mind, because Tourette's, for me, sometimes like people just say what they're feeling and what they're thinking, right? So yes, we want to be inclusive, but if I know I don't know if I would, as a producer of the show, actually have this gentleman standing on stage, right? While this is happening, because these are the things that can happen, right? But like I said, it always seems that is when it comes to us and our time to shine, right? So I was appalled by it. I'm not even gonna lie. And then like Doug says, and he blames it on the boogie, right? I mean, it's Tourette's, like, not to laugh, but to laugh, but it was totally inappropriate and was wrong. And he said, it was his, but a lot of people, especially black actors with Tourette's, said it's a thing. And it is. I get it. And that's why I say, if we know it's a thing, then maybe he should have been off stage, somewhere to the back. And I understand his film and all of these things he was working on, but it was just totally inappropriate. It shouldn't have happened. I think we opened up the gate and we opened up the door for this to happen. And my initial thing as a man of color, I was pissed off to the highest level of all festivity. Like real talk. The hell with the man having Tourette's, because it just felt intentional. Just the way it just felt intentional, right? And Chelsea is saying, she agrees with you, Cliff. He heard it somewhere. It's part of his lexicon, right? He's comfortable saying it. It's embedded in his subconscious. Not everyone who has Tourette's says that word, and that's my point.
Facts.
Somewhere in there,
Facts.
that was there, and he said what he felt. Now, I will say, I want to give Delroy Lindo credit for being so masterful in the moment of turning that negative, that BAFTA fiasco, really into a declaration of unity. And that's what I took, from it when he gave such a graceful acceptance. And it was really more of an act of solidarity that transformed support from a passive gesture into an ongoing active obligation to uplift and advocate for one another. And he's a better man. In that moment, he's a better man than me. And he really helped shift that narrative, that's truly poignant, but he really took that power away, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I stood on it. And Sam, I want to kick it back to you and let you take us out with that and hear what you have to say about that.
I mean, we could sit here and we could point fingers all day. When you kind of look at the clues, and I tried to watch some of the BAFTA just so I can make sure that I had like an unbiased opinion when it came to it. Like there was no reaction throughout the course of the award ceremony from John Davison until Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo got on stage. So that's like the Warno. And then on top of that, like the other two incidents didn't happen. One was towards not a spokesperson. Someone was doing an interview, I'm sorry. And that's when he blurted it out again, and then in the back during the award after party was when it was blurted one more time. But it's just the fact that it all happened to people of color. And that's where the concern is at, Right. So it's like, when do you give grace? And then when do you have to acknowledge, like, there's some deep feelings in there that you need to process and have another discussion about. And that's kind of where I stand on it. Like, and then on top of that, I do blame the producers and everything, because just like with everything else, there's a delay. So how come they delay that word from being said live? You know what I'm saying? And I think for award ceremonies, from where they were at, it was like a 2-hour delay, not even like a 2-minute delay. It was like a 2-hour. They had plenty of time to sit there and edit, that out, and move forward. And it could have been, we could have still had this discussion, but it didn't have to be on display at the way that it was. So I think that's my biggest issue with that.
Yeah. Look, we can do better. We need to do better. Again, this shouldn't have been a live, like you said, they had controls to kind of take care of that. I don't think it should have aired or played out the way that it did. But like I said, Delroy, I think he did a great job of kind of changing the narrative. And hopefully, in what you just said, Sam, I agree with, we need to have more of a conversation on what production looks like, who's on stage, all of these things. These are minor things maybe for you and I, but that's what that production team is there for. You knowingly and willingly are putting somebody up there with Tourette's, which is fine, but like we've all discussed, this is in his lexicon of words, and this is probably something that he was thinking or had discussions about, and it was just inappropriate. And I hope that we see something better in the future, and really I hope to hear a better explanation or something from John, moving forward.
Yeah, one more try. You already had two, and
right.
You get one more. You get one more.
Because if not, he might catch
y'all.
Just saying. Just saying.
Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Hey, so Scream 7 was released, and during the trailers of Scream 7 being released, Marlon Wayans came over there and bootlegged his own trailer for Scary Movie 6.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's coming out this summer. As a matter of fact, he just announced that he's going to push it out a week early. So I think it's going to be released June 5th. Now, with that being said, you know, after watching the full trailer, which I was laughing a lot at, do you think that the Wayans brothers and Scary Movie 6 are we going back to the grassroots, or, you know, do you think that they're going to kind of be stuck in that past and that might be a hindrance on the release of the film?
Man, if I have to, really for me, the question in this for the Wayans taking over this, you know, flagship basically is, can they really find a new target? You know, I think the franchise already had, like, it was, you know, the original franchise really had a brilliance that really kind of laid in a sharp, timely satire, if you will, of like the current horror type landscape.
Right.
So I don't think the Wayans coming in and trying to really play on nostalgia will really suffice, in my opinion. I think they need to like locate like the modern pulse of fear,
which they are.
pop.
Yeah, so they are using weapons, centers, and I forgot the one more. So there are current horror. Of course, they're still doing Scream, you know, but they are adding modern elements to the film.
Okay, so if that's the case, because that's where I really see any future success with them driving and, you know, being at the helm right now. Because if not, I think they're gonna miss that spark or the opportunity to have a spark to kind of keep this thing going. Cliff, what do you say?
Yeah, keep it Wayans, right?
Right.
Keep it family, you know, make sure the family got their input in it, and keep it Wayans, what separated them from the rest. Don't try to impress the newer generation, right, by trying to step into their realm. Just keep it you. You keep it you. That's how the Wayans been just lasting so long. This is how you can still watch the Wayans brothers, you know what I'm saying, on TV, because they was ahead of their time.
Right.
Don't change up that Wayans formula. That's how
I agree.
They did give the disclaimer that nobody's safe, so they come in after everybody. So
I like that.
That's the Wayans.
Enjoy hearing,
right. That's what they do.
And live in color, right?
Yeah. That I was just going to say, and live in color. That if it has that vibe, that energy, I think there's no stopping them, man. You know, just creatively, if they go from that playbook, man, and just hammer this shit home. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I got you. Well, I know I'm looking forward to seeing it. So we'll see what happens this summer. So hopefully it'll be the blockbuster that we all need and the funnies that we all need.
Right.
All right. So last but not least, last one on the table. There's a lot of like verses when it comes to people, and then you've seen it. Like, is it 50 and Ja Rule? Is it Beyonce versus Ashanti? But when you look in the spectrum of Hollywood, is there really like a true queen for Hollywood? And two names that come to mind is Angela Bassett and Viola Davis. So I wanted to throw this out there to y'all and everyone that's in the chats and the feeds and everything. Like, if you had to pick one, you know, is there space for both, or is, you know, we looking at, you know, Angela Bassett with her credentials, or are you looking at Viola Davis with her?
Cliff, I'm gonna let you jump in on that one first, bro. That's a great ass question. That's a great conversation. Hey, y'all in the chat, man, go ahead, man. Let us know what you say, man. Who you rocking with?
So when I saw Viola Davis on the NAACP Awards, and she was just giving her speeches and what she was talking about, of, you know, just keeping the relationship within, you know, the community of Black actors, right? How to build together and keep it going. I started thinking, right, with her, and then you start looking at her track record, phenomenal, right? I was like, wow, between her and is she the female Denzel, right? And then you know, what about Angela Bassett? Her track record is crazy, right? And when she talks, she delivers powerful speeches to black women, right? Of how to sustain and always always thank the people that opened up the doors for you, right?
Right.
But Viola, she I don't know, you feel her speeches, right? You feel the passion. And then you feel Angela Bassett. I go back and forth with it. But it's like there's always just been one Denzel, right?
Right.
There's been one Denzel. But when it comes to the queens of Hollywood, you know, the Black Hollywood, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to those two women, who will you really say got the edge, or who could get that crown?
Hey, look, man, you can't answer a question. What a question!
See.
Right.
So I
trying to
like
do
what
that
Cliff.
footnote shit right there.
See, right now, like he wilding like a mug, right? He out here wilding. He flailing in the water.
Right.
But I respect that. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Because
hard.
it is hard. It is hard, right? But if I think like Queen, right, of Hollywood, and the work, because both of them have done incredible work, and I think it's open to interpretation for people, right? Because there can only be, like I said, one. There's only one Denzel, right? Nick, what's happening, sis? Yeah, your man's in here. Your man's in here. He bubbling. He drowning in the tub. You know what I'm saying? But I agree that they're both powerful and masterful in their own way. But for me, the one that moves the needle, that really pushes it when I see their body of work, which is both excellent, is Angela Bassett. She just really, in everything that it seems like she touches, she leaves an imprint. And again, not knocking Viola. There's some things that, for me though, I'm not talking about her speaks, because she speaks well. They both speak well. I think Viola is more impactful from a speaking standpoint, and I want to be kind when I say this. I think she's more impactful on small screen or television. I think that's where her crown fits her. But when I look at Angela Bassett, it's across both. She speaks volumes in her work. Now she's behind the screen and all the thing that she's doing. For me, Angela Bassett would be our queen, our woman's Denzel, because I just think she speaks more volume. That's just to me. And maybe that's just my taste or my preference. And I think that's where it really boils down, because we have so many more women that are impactful. Some people would say throw Taraji in there. There are a few other women that you might want to throw in this conversation. But if we're talking about these two, I'm rocking with Angela right now. I think she's the queen of Hollywood, as far as we're concerned.
It's Bo Take Cotton. All right. I mean, if I had to choose, it would be Viola Davis for me. Okay. The only reason why I would choose, because only one of them is an EGOT.
Okay.
And it's not Angela Bassett.
Speak on it.
I mean, Viola Davis got an Emmy, Oscar, Tony Award, doggone Grammy, from when she was Ma Mabel.
Yeah.
So, and I think that her off stage is just as viable as Angela Bassett's too. I ain't go front. Like, I got hooked on doggone How to Get Away with Murder just because of Viola Davis. But that's just my own personal.
Great series.
My own personal, and I watched 911 to today, and I've been like day one.
Fire.
911, and I know that she's spearheading as far as the executive producer when it comes to that series.
Right.
But for me, like, when they could be right here, but I just got Viola
they can.
Right here. Yeah.
I think it's preference. It's preference.
It could be co-captains, but like Cliff said, like, you get to that point that, what I'm saying, if we have one Denzel, then who do we put as that pinnacle? Because both of them are the standard, but just for me to be, Viola Davis, she just has that little niche on her body of work Not negating nothing that Angela Bassett did, because I don't want nobody coming from me. But there's just that slight that little slight extra inch, when you run into the tape, and you have to zoom in.
She got that link. She got that link. She got the link. She got the link.
Yeah.
Okay.
She leaning forward with it. Leaning forward and chest out. I don't know how you do that, but it's like simultaneous. So
I think it's a fair question, man. I think it was a great question. And for those of you, like I say, you got an opinion, man, you want to share it, drop it in the comments. We are not, any Angela Bassett people or Viola Davis people. Look, we are not, excuse my friend, we not shitting on neither queen.
No.
Y'all are right there, but I think neither one of y'all, I thought it was a great. Yeah, we ain't trying to do that here on Two Mics Up. We really appreciate it though, the work that you ladies are doing, and hope that you continue to do as we move into 2026. So Cliff, then we're gonna pass you the baton.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, listen, man. So the beast of the East, NBA. All right,
okay.
We're getting closer to the playoffs. So just been diving into my NBA this week and looking at the teams and how it changed, right? How everybody was talking in the beginning of the season all the way up to the NBA Cup to right now, right? It changed. Here's my question to you two. Jason Tatum, he could come back. I think he's planning on coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Him coming back, will that not affect Jaylen Brown's momentum shooting for MVP? Because he's playing MVP ball right now, and he's been pretty consistent. I mean, it's getting me upset, but the job that I do, I got to show love, and he got to do what he got. I got to respect it at the same time. And bro, nobody expected this. Let me say that about Jaylen Brown. He had the skill, but I don't think anybody expected it.
So let's go back, and I'll go back. During the summer, Sam and I, when you and I were talking about the NBA. First of all, you and I both agreed that this Boston team was not the Boston team that we expected to see. Is that fair enough to say? All right.
That's fair.
There's a reason why they paid Jaylen Brown the money that they paid him. And there's a reason why he was the MVP of the finals when they won the championship. We are now seeing that, right? So I'm going to eat my words because I know I talked about Boston like they were some BS. I did not see this. With all the moves, all the trades, Drew Holiday and everybody, Al Horford being gone, I did not see this version of Boston. Now, to answer your question from my perspective, if I have to be 200% honest, I'm just going out on a limb here. Jason Tatum, stay home. Just stay home. Just stay home. Because I'm gonna keep it a buck. Right now, these dudes are one of the hottest teams, especially in the East. And the East is wide open. So if they cooking like this without you, there's that thing called chemistry, right? So chemistry comes into play when you're trying. Look, even with his greatness, to reintegrate him into what they're doing right now, I think it's going to be a problem. And I just say, stay home, let this team cook how it's cooking, and you come back next season. And now you add and you integrate what you're adding to next year's team. Now I've been wrong before. I've been off before on a lot of things, but this one I don't feel that I'm too far off on, and I'm going to put my pen in it right there, and I'm going to go ahead and kick it to Sam.
I believe he needs to remain in street clothes.
Yeah.
Go ahead and call him Anthony Davis. That's all he would. I wasn't expecting Boston to be in second place, so I'm content with the team that they have right now. I really feel like, because one, you have to wait for, is Tatum going to get warmed up, and is he going to be warmed up in enough time for playoffs, and do you really want to disrupt the fluidness that's going on with the team? I think that if you sit here and you incorporate him, it's kind of hitting the reset button. And we're on that second half. If they were going to do anything, I would probably had, and I know it's all based on when Jason Tatum was going to be fully recovered from his injury. But at this point, I think he should wait because we're about to be. I mean, I know we're in the early stages of March, but Boston got a good thing going on right now.
Yeah, man.
So, and
Agreed.
I wouldn't want to interrupt that flow. That's just me. Now,
I agree.
what the coaches plan on doing and everything, that's going to be on them. But I really feel like it's detrimental. Now, will it affect Jaylen Brown and his MVP run? I don't think so. One, what accolades is, Tatum going to get? Is he going to get that hot? I don't think so because,
Right.
he is coming. That's a serious injury to try to sit here and bounce back from.
Mhm.
So, like, I think that he would have an impact because it gives you another shooter on the court. But they got
Right.
plenty of shooters out there. So I think they strain on that. So, and their defense is actually pretty good too.
Pretty
So
good. Yep.
I think it would do more harm than good bringing Tatum back right now.
Agreed. I agree.
Unless they feel like he's going to be a valuable asset for the playoffs. And then maybe you think about that. But once again, like, I want to disrupt anything that's going on right now. Like you said, let the offseason happen. Let them go ahead and get a couple of preseason games, those two-a-days and those practices and
Right.
gel back with the team and then go from there.
Agree.
Right.
All
I
right.
agree. I agree.
Well, with that being said, second question. We have the top four right now. So we have Detroit at number 1, Boston number 2. We have New York 3, Cleveland 4. Is that going to stay? Or how is it going to change? What is your opinion about is 4 going to jump up to 2? Is 3 going to end up being number 1? What do you think?
We still got a lot of ball to play. So, and 1 and 2 really aren't that far off between Boston and Detroit right now. It's not that it's only 4 games. So we're talking about the length of the season. And I guess my bigger question is like, who's going to reach 60 first? Because it's going to be inevitable that both of these teams hit 60. I don't know. What you call has been pretty dominant within their conference too. Detroit. I'm gonna lean on Detroit. Detroit got the hot hand, and if I remember correctly, Dame, you were talking about last season how Detroit was going to creep up on us, and here we are right now. Even when they squeezed into the playoffs last year, you know what I'm saying? Like that was a hell of a run that they had.
It was.
So,
It was, man. I think if you're looking at the East right now, Detroit's the cream of the crop. Nothing against. I love my Knicks. Going Knicks to the day I die. I think if I'm gonna be honest, if things were to play out the way that they were, in the way that the playoffs, I think the seedings work, I'd rather see the Knicks in the opposite bracket with a chance to meet Detroit in the finals, not in the second round. Only because right now, if we watch how they've played us, I think the last 5 regular season games, they've destroyed us in the regular season. Now the postseason is different, but I would rather let them go through some other teams and have some battles with a Boston or a Cleveland or Milwaukee, whoever it may be, before we have to face them. I'd rather go through the attrition and face them in the in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think that gives us a better chance. I think we're suited. The Knicks are suited well. Boston, I think they're the wild card. I'm just gonna call it what it is. Cleveland, I don't buy nothing. Anything that has James Harden attached to it.
Pack him up.
Pack him up.
His thumb is already hurt.
Yeah, I mean, but it looked good on paper, right? But anything he does in the playoffs we've been watching his whole career, he fizzles like a hot dog, man. He shrinks, in the playoff light. So I'm not really looking for them. I think it's one of those things like what other team can actually get themselves together to make a challenge. Again, I'm still waiting on Orlando to kind of be the team that I thought that they were going to be. Atlanta's actually looked good with their trade, with Kuminga. Kuminga's been on fire. So again, I'm really what other sleepers going to come in the challenge. But I think if the Knicks, like I said, if they can get Detroit in the second half, or in the finals where they're not in the same bracket, I think it'll be interesting. I think that gives them the best chance to win, the East anyway.
All right. And last but not least, MVP. You notice I didn't talk about the West. We'll get to the best from the West next week.
Okay. Okay.
Who's going to be the MVP for the East or overall?
Yeah, no, for the East.
Man, that's a great question.
I mean, Brown is the front runner, but I will look at Cunningham for Detroit too.
I was going to say, yeah,
about to say, okay.
I would say
he's
Cade.
he's been killing it. So,
yeah.
I mean, that would be my 1-2 punch right there.
Agree.
I would have to agree. I think the two of them have elevated their teams to a point and a position that one, I think nobody, like I said, we talked earlier, nobody saw Boston and Jaylen Brown doing this. And I just think Cade and Detroit, they don't get that type of recognition that they should. And again, they're kind of showing me old school Pistons ball, man. They out here bullying everybody, man. If you ain't ready to man up, don't F with Detroit, man. Because they just bullying everybody. And Cade is taking his game each year that we've seen him, especially from last year to this year, to where he's a dominant factor on the floor. He has to be accounted for on both sides of the ball, and he's actually putting his teammates in position to actually make plays and to contribute. So I think that goes a long way when you look at a guy that you want to talk about in the MVP conversation.
Good. That's your boy Clif for Sports Rap.
All right, we wrapping it up with the sport. I love it. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you, for sitting with us through the lighter segment of tonight's conversation. But we definitely want to get into tonight's feature segments, which is brought to you by our friends over at 94 Media House, digital design company for all your small business needs. Man, if you're really looking for, as a new business owner, someone, a business to really help get you set up and get you, on your way, definitely check out our friends at 94 Media House. And I'm not saying it because, they're family. I'm saying it because they helped me get 2 mics up together. So definitely go check them out. But I want to dive in, gentlemen. We're talking about mental health and mental health struggles for men. And there's a lot of things that are going on in the that we as men, we deal with, as sons, as, brothers, cousins, nephews, fathers, husbands, that really sometimes can take a hold. And I don't think we do enough to talk about. And one of those things is just the cultural conditioning, and I'm speaking culturally as men of color. And I want to start with Sam. Like, if I'm being honest and looking back at this, trying to develop this conversation, I think it starts with our childhood, right? Most of us heard it early on, be tough, don't cry, handle it like a man. But if I ask you, Sam, if you could, like, just kind of open it up, what did that actually teach us, about how to handle pain and suffering or loss? What do you think that, that really taught us about those facts, how to handle those?
That's a tough question. It's a tough question to answer because I just think back when I was younger and just some of the things that, you went through loss, you went through being hurt, you went through breakups with relationships and everything. And, it's like, suck it up. It's all right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What my family used to say, you better lock that shit up. Just
Right.
certain terms like that. But basically what we were doing was just sitting here like bottling our emotions. And then you have the chance to, like, we got kids now. I have a son, and I just know mentally the things that I was told or taught how to deal with emotions. I can't do that, with my son. I wasn't able to do it. It started that way, but
Right.
at the same time, things opened up for me as a man is where it came to like mental health and everything. And, now certain topics we are sit here and we're able to talk about, or even resiliency. I think that's the biggest thing because, it is about resilience. Definition of resiliency is being able to bounce back from some type of adversity or something like that. And for the longest time, we were just told to, just pack it, compartmentalize it, and move on. But, there's certain things that happen to us that we need to have these topics and just be able to get it out and not make it seem weird that, that we cry or that we're angry or that we're sad or, we're walking around depressed, but we don't know how to process our depression because everybody wants to sit here and be like, you're not sick, or you all right, or you're a man, you tough, you got to sit here and deal with it. Those were the stigmas, that we had to or still dealing with. Because perfect example, I was chopping it up with one of my uncles, and he was in a mode, and I was trying to figure out like how can I be more resourceful to you and everything. And he's like, well, I gotta take care of this myself. Ain't nobody else going to help me. I got to do it on my own. And here I am. I was letting him know, like, no, Unc, you ain't got to do this by yourself. Like you have support, and I want you to know that you have support. You don't need to feel like this. And he even brought it up, like I come from a different time, nephew. You know what I'm saying? But that was what I was raised on too. Was that we had to be tough. Don't trust nobody. Don't open up to nobody because it might seem like it's a weakness or something like that. But like I was trying to let them know that times have progressed. I don't have a big circle, but my circle I know my circle is large enough. Like if I need to just sit here and vent, I could call somebody and vent. You know what I'm saying? But there was a point in time that we didn't have that because we didn't know if it was okay for ourselves to sit here and let some of this stuff out. So I'm appreciative of that, to have avenues or just have an ear, because sometimes that's all that we need is that ear just to listen to us, and I'm just making sure that we don't, I talk to my son about his feelings and you see it on the news, what I'm saying? Eventually, it's like a powder keg, and what I'm trying to diffuse it as soon as possible, because you see the media and the news and everything that has happened, and I don't want my son to end up like that. I don't want my son to feel like he has nobody to talk to. I don't want any of my boys to feel like, they don't if they're down that they can't talk to nobody because I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's just shifting gears, because I know that we're all in the same age bracket. So I know what I'm talking about, it speaks to us because that's what we were raised on. But it's like during the progressions and, especially being in the military, because for me, that same thing that like back in the 90s and everything, it was the same thing. Don't go to sick call. You hurt? I could have a damn broken leg. You better not go to sick call, because that's a sign of weakness right there.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? If you get frustrated with certain things that's going on with with your unit, it's like, well, suck it up and drive on. That was like one of the big things right there. But it wasn't until I got older, we got into like the mid 2000s and everything, and I became a resiliency trainer and everything. Now we're able to sit here and process and pack things down a little bit, to get to root causes and everything, and just try to evaluate what's going on. Because like I said, like, mental wellness is very pivotal, it's very important, not pivotal. I don't even know if that's a fucking word, but it's very important.
It's very important.
It's very important, especially downrange and everything. So, and I wanted to make sure that I was available to my soldiers or any soldiers that was going through something, being able to be that voice, that could kind of like ease them down, or be that ear. Like I said before, just sometimes you just need, somebody to listen to you, to what you're going through, and deal with certain, you're trying to find those icebreakers for you to like, let's minimize this, let's get you to a certain spot and everything. So I'm really glad that I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm saying I think that's what you're saying is important, because we don't have these outlets, right? And we're trying to create these spaces, and it's really difficult. I know, like you mentioned, it's kind of hit me we are from that same age group or that era of compartmentalizing, everything that we go through. And you know, I guess I know I've tried to figure out ways to change, those messages, right? In my adult life from my childhood. And it makes me just want to ask, and I'm gonna throw this out, like for both of you or Cliff, if you want to start, like, how do you think those messages that we got as boys shape the men that we became? Because I think that's impactful. Because I'm really hearing Sam, and Sam is really speaking to me. Not so much on the military side, but this is something that everyday life I think we all deal with. So I'm just trying to figure out, you know, how those messages do you think have shaped us into the men that we are today? Because I think that's a critical component, or after, or coincides with what that first question was, that Sam was answering.
For me, man, I was I came up on both sides of the spectrum, which is weird. So, my grandfather, my uncle, that, some tough guys, you know what I mean? And that's how they raised me, right?
Mm,
You know, you fall, get back up, get you a new plan, keep going.
right.
Don't let them see, don't let them see the hurt. Don't let them see the hurt. But then they're
Mm,
gonna push your buttons. If somebody know how to push your buttons, they're gonna keep on pushing your buttons. Don't give them
right.
the opportunity to see any weakness, right? And then when I got in my teenage years, I started, reconnecting. That's when I reconnected and lived with my pops.
Right.
And my dad was straight sensitive, right? My
Right.
pops would cry at a drop of a dime. So to me, I didn't know how to handle that, right?
Mm,
Well, we would have talks, and he would talk to me, and he'd get teary eyed and stuff like that. I'd be like, "Why are you crying? We're not supposed to cry." But not understanding that when you talk to well, for me, when you talk to your son, right, and you're teaching them and talking to them about life, and you think of certain scenarios that you don't ever want your son to get through, that can get emotional, and that's something that I've learned. So I had to learn my sensitivity part.
mm,
That it is all right to let it out. Especially, I wish I was told this earlier instead of me growing into it in my marriage. But that's a very, very important part in the marriage, right?
right.
Your wife don't want to see you all rock solid hard all the time. They want to see the vulnerable, the sensitivity part in you. You know what I
Right.
mean? They want to know what's on your mind. And for me, it took a while, man, because I
Mm,
was, put it in the back of your mind and keep rolling. You know what I
yeah.
mean? When you put this topic out, I didn't even want to elaborate on it. I just wanted to speak freely, what we
Right.
got on here tonight, because that and then listening to Sam, that's when it just all start coming into my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because yeah, you are, when you're raised, as when we was raised, you had to be 100. You can't trust anyone. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is
Right
doing,
hands doing. Yeah.
right? That was a saying all the time, and you carry that, but you
Mm,
don't realize that once you start getting older and you get married, you gotta let your your left hand know what your right is doing, because that's your right. That's
yep.
that's the
Yep.
only, your right hand is gonna hold that left down at all times. So you gotta
Right.
release that out. You gotta let them know. You know what I mean? So my sensitivity actually grew without even trying to make it grow, right? Just because of situations you go through, right?
Mm,
When I lost my mom and then my dad right after, I couldn't. I was people. Everybody was saying I was tough, and I'm talking real. If I'm talking like
mm,
this right now, this is
right. Right. Right.
straight from it, man. But
Mm-hmm.
people saw because I didn't have time to crash out because it was back to
Mm,
back, right?
mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I had to keep it moving, because if I would have just stopped, it would have been a wrap. And there was so many things that had to get done. and I have never been through a situation like that in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but the sensitivity part, the letting down, the crying, bro, that's that don't stop. I don't know when it's gonna stop. And I'm not ashamed no more. You know what I
Right.
mean, Dame?
That part. That
Sam,
part.
I'm
That part.
not. You know, Dame. I used to always say, "My fault. I'm sorry." Every
Yeah.
time it's
Yeah. Yeah.
teary
Nah,
eyed,
man.
break down. But I had to accept it. Now, when other people are through it, it's like I can talk to them about it because I know the pain. You know what I'm saying? Try to the same enlightened that I got from my family, my friends. You know what I'm saying? I want to do to others no matter how much it hurts, because talking about it and letting other people know you are not alone in this. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cliff been through it too. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah,
Yeah.
Cliff bug out. Cliff
Yeah.
like to have fun. Cliff is wild and he loves his insurance career, everything. But Cliff been through it too, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing that I go through is it's okay. You know what
It's
I
okay.
mean? My wife has to tell me that all the time. Cliff,
It
it's
is
okay.
okay. It is
You know what I
okay,
mean?
man. And I think we have
Yeah,
to be more in tune to allowing and accepting that to happen, right? Because there's the other part, like, and you really kind of led into it. I mean, perfectly, really, is that pain behind the persona that we all have, right? Um, we talk about that image that similar to what you were just speaking on, Cliff, where we wear these masks, like we're the protector, we're the provider, we're the dependable one. But behind that image, there's often real hurt. Even like what Cliff was just sharing, about his loss, and then to have it back to back, and having to be all of those things: the protector, the provider, the dependable one. Sam, I'm going to kick it back to you. Then I want to ask, like, why do you think it's hard for men to really admit when they're struggling? We all we just went in deep about all of those things, kind of like mindset, if you will, and trying to be there for. But why do we? What would you say is really the one thing, maybe for you or people that you've talked to in your military career and even throughout your life? Why is it so hard for us to admit, when we're struggling?
Pride.
Mm.
If I'm a
Woo,
keep it a being, like
woo.
that's really what it is. And like no one so far we've just been talking about weakness, and that's what it is. If
Mm.
sometimes we get to the point that if we let our guard too far down, then anything can happen at a moment's notice. On top of that, too, I just think about how, like you said, we're a provider, we're a counselor, we're the mechanic, we're the electrician. We wear all these hats. And by wearing all those hats, if you have one missing segment out of that cog, then it's like some of us might feel as if we're defective and we
Mm.
can't do, we do many jobs, but it take that one to be like, well, I can't do nothing.
Mm.
So I think that's kind of where at least from my perspective, that's where we stand at. Like we don't want to, we want to seem as if we're invincible. We want to seem as if don't nothing get to us. All those items right there. So it's the wall that, and it could be based on our childhoods and everything. You
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
I never saw my dad cry until my granddad passed away.
Wow.
And I've seen my dad in the hospital. My dad is an Army veteran too. I seen him come back from war. I done sat down and heard his stories and everything, and that left me in a moment of like, oh shit, like it really got hot down there. But like during
right.
his conversation, when he was talking about it, he didn't wither like one time. And then
Wow.
it took my granddad passing away, and I just remember just he was letting it out, and that made me feel bad because like I felt like that's when my pops needed me most,
Mm.
you know. Um, but I think once again, I think that's just the wall that we put up with ourselves is that, you know, we don't want nobody to see that side, but it's okay if somebody sees it. I think that's
Yeah.
just the main thing at the end of the day is, we're gonna have our moments and is I'd rather you get it out then keep it bottled in. And I think that's kind of the trend that I'm going with. But you know, like I said, we you don't want to seem defective, you know. And it just brought up something. I was even talking to my aunt. My aunt was like, she said something in reference to mental health, but she just blurted out like, "Are you crazy? Is you crazy? You been to war? Is you crazy?" And like she said that, and I was like, I don't even know how to answer that, because you know, I've seen things that other people haven't.
Yeah.
And you know, my version, I just said no out of the blue because it was just like so random and it hit me. But like, I had to go talk to people for the things that I experienced, or you know, the things that I had to witness and everything. And it wasn't easy, just to open up. It took me a minute, because like you said, that trust factor is in there. Like, you know, can I rely on this person, or are they going to use it on me? And even in the military, like, you don't even want to bring up some of this stuff, because back then it was an easy way for you to sit here and getting chaptered or put out the military because you're having certain experiences. So that goes along with the stigma too, as far as like being tough. So
Well, Chelsea, you know, actually, you know, it's a great question. Is seeking, you know, help from a mental health therapist something that you and your friends have done or thought about? So I think that's a great question, Chelsea. So I will say, um, everybody does not, especially in the Black and Brown community, at least in our age group, you know, felt that going to see a therapist on any level, something wrong with you, right? Um, don't be sharing your business with a stranger and all kind of things. But if I can't share my business or talk to my family, then I would recommend anyone to go see a therapist. I've done it. I've gone because there have been things in my life that I needed to adjust to help me be the best adjusted man and human being and father that I can be, than that you see here today. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But being able to create safe spaces like this, I find that it's very important because we don't do this enough. And I think it was a great question that you asked, Chelsea, because there is still this black mark that's put on people, or people are looked at differently when they actually try to open up and say, hey, maybe they need help, or hey, they just want to get something off their chest. And this is really part of the reason what drove me to be able to have this conversation, one, but two, to be in a safe space with two men that I know extremely well. We have shared our lives together, whether collectively or apart, and it felt like this was the right conversation. And I thank you for asking that question, Chelsea, because if there's any man or any woman here that has a man in their life that maybe needs help, one, I would ask them, share this conversation with them, whether it be live or on the replay, and you know, go out and seek help. And if they're looking for some people that maybe they want to talk to, I've had the pleasure of having some therapists and other professionals here on this show. And if they want to reach out, please reach out, because I want to get you that help, because we're living in some really tough times, you know, and people are being demonized and they're being attacked on all different levels. And we all could use that help. So thank you for that question, Chelsea. I think that was a great question. And it makes me want to ask Cliff, you know, can a man be strong and still show he's hurting? Or do we still, in your opinion, feel that vulnerability kills our image as men?
Yeah, I think a man could definitely be strong and show his feelings, right? Because I'm that's what I'm doing.
Right.
Nothing weak about Cliff. You know what I mean? And I show my feelings. You know, my family now my family call me sensitive. You know what I mean? When it comes to times, because I'm big on some things, man. I'm big on family, right? And trust me, we, you know, as men, we get very busy and, you know, juggling a lot of different things, right? But family is important. and I come from a small circle. Damn, you know, my
Yeah.
my family circle is so small that we're sensitive with each other at a drop of a dime, right? Um, and it's great. It's great to have, but you got to be, as men, we got to be able to share our feelings. We have to be able to explain our frustration without our temper taking us to another level,
Mm,
right?
big,
Because
yeah.
when you allow your temper to take it to another level, now you're not actually showing sensitivity. Now you're trying to show your manhood,
Mm,
and not at, and you don't need to do that all the time. You know what I mean? You need to put that to the side. Okay, change yourself up on that, because that don't work no more, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's just, it leads nothing but to just headache and not a good ending, right?
Right.
Talk,
Right.
talk it out, right? Think it through.
Mm,
Think before you talk. You know, that's an old school. They've been telling that since the
right.
day you've been born. You've been boy, you better
Right.
think before you talk. You know what I mean? And that holds
Hmm.
true to this day. So for men, yeah, holding it inside, them days is over, bro.
Yeah.
Them days is
I
over. Talk to someone.
agree because I think with this topic of the pain behind the persona, I think the fear of vulnerability. And you both talked about it. Um, we need to we so much of the time we equate our worth with our utility and our infallibility, right? But listening in this segment here, I think the true strength really isn't about the absence of pain. It's the courage to be honest about its presence in our life, right?
Mm.
And I think the moment a man feels that he's no longer dependable, like what Sam was really talking about, his identity can crumble at the drop of a hat. So we have to collectively redefine, this mask that we're wearing, so that it really includes complexity, and the meat of it has to be honesty of a full human being, with our scars and all, for us to really make that image sustainable, moving forward. So that was a great segment and a great conversation. I want to go to the chat real quick. See someone else popped in. Hey, Chelsea, she's with you, Cliff. Very good point. Now I want to move to the next segment, really, which talks about, we talk about a lot here on the show. We have this modern disconnect. And I think that's key because we're really looking at social media and things of that nature, right? So if we were to fast forward like to today, because like I said, we come from the same backgrounds or same era, we live in this fast-paced world where, they want us to believe that more people are connected than ever, right? With social media. Yet, but so many of us are lonely as hell, right? Now that's oxymoron, like if that shit makes sense or not, but that's what it is. So Sam, I'm gonna kick it to you, brother. Like, what do you feel like is behind that? Like, why do so many men feel isolated even when they're surrounded by people? Or, you know, according to social media standards, you have a plethora of people that you can talk to and reach out to.
I mean, that's just what it is. You have so many likes or so many friends on social media, but how many of them are actually your friends?
Hmm.
You
Mm,
know, how many of them are your day ones? How many of them do you have anyone out of that 500 that you could call at 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, hey,
mm,
I'm
mm,
going through it, with XYZ. And if that's not the case, that you don't have anybody, in your well house that you can rely on like that, then you might need to evaluate, are we doing this because, just for visibility, trying to get all
mm,
those likes? Or do we
mhm,
actually have like close, intimate relationships with people within that circle? And for me, I would have to step out the bounds of social media because, like, yeah, I have social media. I think we all do. But it's those ones that I have like on speed dial, or that I could pick
mhm,
up a phone, or, maybe take a break and break bread with them or something like that. To me, those relationships are more important to me, than a lot of the social media ones, because, you know, some of us get in that favor of, well, just accept people to be accepting them. And I ain't gonna lie, I felt privy to that a couple of times, but I did a couple of clean sweeps when it did come to my socials, because like it made me realize like I really don't have friends like that. You know what I'm saying? I could sit here and I could pour my heart out on IG, Facebook, or something like that, and then probably won't get like no likes or anything like that. But let me do a goofy ass post, and that shit will jump up somewhere like into the hundreds. And I guess that's what I'm alluding to. I'm just happy and honored for the fact that I know that I could come to y'all if I do have an issue, if something is going on. Like, you know, yeah, we talk about the funny and sports and all that stuff, but like, you know, we've had some dark conversations before. Let me just be thorough with that, you know, and that's what, you know, that brings me gratitude, knowing, or, you know, one of y'all might hear it in my voice and be like, hey, Sam, you good?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's all that we need. You know what I'm saying? Is we might want to speak on it, but we don't know how. But it just takes that one person to ask that one question, and then the floodgates might open. And then us, you know, we just got to make sure that we're receptive, you know, for that person too. So like, you just need to set those boundaries. Like, you know, social media is social media, and that's a whole different headache and everything that we could have a conversation about with algorithms and all that other BS and everything. But if you have, I guess that's my biggest thing at the end of the day. If you have like a close knit tribe or group of friends that you call friends, that you call your brothers and everything, you know what I'm saying? You honor that, you cherish that. Cause I mean, in the middle of all of this, I have lost some really close folks that I was cool with for like 30 plus years. You know, off some goofy shit, but you know, it is what it is. But you know, I guess they're gone for a reason, and they came to in my life for a reason too. But like I said, just, you know, the friends that we really have, just hold them close with you.
All day,
Hold them
man.
close to you.
I agree with you on that. So, you know, this listening, like you say, because social media is that mug. Like you said, you come with a lot of stuff like this. You know, we're really trying to tap in, and I know this ain't for everybody, but we're trying to tap in on something serious that really affects us all with social media. Cliff, do you think that it's made things worse? The pressure to always look like you're doing fine, or you're doing well, or you're successful. Like, has that really made it worse for people? Because that's got to be a stressor. When I look at it, trying to keep up with the Joneses, it's got to be a stressor. So what's you know what I'm saying? Like, what's your take on that? So like, real talk.
And that's the thing. See, when social media first came, it's supposed to be like Sam was saying, connect with your friends, right? Friends that you're in your 30s, you haven't seen since elementary school, right? To connect, to share family pictures, right? Share family pictures, let people see who you don't talk to on a regular basis. See what you're doing, what you how you live in life, how you working. To celebrate. You can celebrate life on social media with your friends, but it turned into, all kind of things. It turned into all the people's drama and so much anger and stuff that they want to put it on social media. And then it gets to the point, I could put up so many different things that are happy or motivating, and I get like 5 likes, right? But let me put something on like, oh my gosh, I just lost this. It's the end of the world. What I'm gonna do? I don't have this. Now you got 80 likes.
Right.
So it's like your downfall or your struggles is paid more attention than your happiness.
Yeah.
Right. Why is that? Why is that?
That's crazy. That's nuts. And that really leads. Chelsea actually, shares another point. When we are no longer in school or working remotely, or maybe we're not in a church, like how we used to be. You retire, or we don't go to bars, the places where people meet spontaneously, organically, and repeatedly. They really don't exist anymore. She's right. It takes more work for people to create and nurture friendships in today's world, and those are all great points. And it just makes me think, from transition from what you were just talking about, Cliff, and Chelsea's point, we've kind of traded genuine connection for constant communication, whether it be good, bad, a lot or a little, right? Isolation really isn't a lack of people, is a lack of deep presence. If I'm really connecting, your point and her, from Sam's point to your point to Chelsea's comment, we don't have a deep presence anymore, right? We're performing life for an audience of people that we really don't know, right? Instead of living life, authentically, like what Sam said, with a tribe that's true, to you and who you are and what you all are together. I think to go even further, like it feels like social media really exacerbates, if you will, this by creating endless highlights, in reels of curated perfection, which we know is not true, but it makes any man, like, especially, and I'm going to say this from my heart, any man like you gentlemen that I know, sometimes it can make you feel lost or believe like you're not winning. And I think that's the bigger part too with social media. With all these other things that we're dealing with, but then you add this, and now it makes you feel like you're back to not winning. So I think at the end of the day, we need to stop sending out signals and start building, actual relationships like we used to, where the signal to noise ratio really we can radically reduce that just by being human beings again, and just getting in touch with the people that are in our lives and around us that impact us positively every day. So, and it's funny, like, I mean, couldn't have really wrote this any better, because then there's that thing that kind of leads into, you know, breaking the cycle then, right? And we talk about silence and different things and not being able to speak up, but if silence is learned, right, then speaking up is something we can learn too, right? So how do we start doing that work? And Sam, I want to kick it to you, because I don't know why I really thought about you with this. Like, what helped you begin to open up or build spaces where men can talk freely? And I know that's part of your career. So I really thought about you when I was thinking about this question.
I mean, I guess just stop saying I'm good,
Mm.
knowing that you're not.
Wow.
For me, that's where everything kind of begins from. Um, and I know that it's hard because at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out. Uh, you don't want to be. You don't want nobody to take what you're dealing with for some type of weakness and weaponize it. Um, but sometimes we got to sit here and just speak on things that's bothering us. And I'm just letting you know that it's all right to speak on those things. You having issues paying rent, it's all right. Let's talk about it. Let's navigate through it. You having issues with your significant other, all right, let's chop it up and talk about it. I'd rather us, but I'm letting you know that it's okay for us to have these discussions. You don't have to sit and worry about, being clowned on, somebody picking on you because you decided to shed a tear. And I think that's kind of when we allude back or go back to like the whole pride thing. Like, we don't want to sit here and open up because you don't want to be that running joke or that pun of that joke or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, because if you're dealing with something, like, we need to address that. We need to sit there and talk about that. Like, I don't want you to sit here and, deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with. And I hear you, James, that you're struggling, or Richard James. But for me, that's what it is right there. Um, and you don't have to wait for permission to sit here and have these type of discussions. If you need to speak on something, to speak on it.
Right.
Like, don't sit here and continue to be silent. It's in our DNA to do that.
Right.
Because we talked about it at the beginning. That's what we're programmed to do. We're programmed not to say anything.
Yeah.
But I'm just letting you know it's all right. to say something. So
Period. Facts on that. So first of all, Richard James, thank you for joining us, my friend. Sorry to hear that you're struggling. And all seriousness, the three of us are not professionals, but we are here taking time to open up parts of ourselves to have this conversation because it's a needed conversation. But if you're really struggling and you're looking for help, and I don't know what you may be looking for help in, but feel free to email us at two mics up. You can go on our website, contact us. And if this is I'm going to take this as in all seriousness, because when people are struggling, this is not a game. It's not something uh, that's funny or that we find funny. But if you are really in need, feel free to email us, man, and contact us, and I will do my best to put you in contact with someone. Like I said, I've had other guests here who are actual professionals in the field. So let us know, man, and we'll do our best to go ahead and see what we can do to help you in your situation. Uh, James says he's been spending hundreds of dollars taking a girl out who doesn't seem to care. He has a big crush on her, but every time I've told her how I feel, she really doesn't pay much attention. Uh, Except when I took her out on Valentine's Day, and she said she's willing to try to see where things go. Gentlemen, I don't know if anyone you want to share
No,
words or thoughts.
but you actually, Dame, you have a lot of different guests that helps situations like this. I've seen them on your show.
Yeah. So yeah. Please go ahead, continue.
But James, take a second and just ask her flat out, what's going on. If she's ignoring you, if she doesn't even text you, you're saying she doesn't even text you, this one might not be for you. I don't know your age. I don't know how old you are, but there's one for you, right? And just let it happen. Don't force it. James, don't force it. Right? If you hearing one thing, James, do not force it. All right.
Yeah.
If she's stepping back, let her be. Don't force it, bro. Leave it alone. Move on to the next. That's the real talk of it. Of don't force it. Okay.
Yeah.
It won't be a good situation.
Agreed. Well, James, like I said, please take a moment, reach out to contact us via our website, twomicsup.com. Let us know, just contact us, man. Let us know what you're going through. And like I said, I will do my due diligence to try to connect you with someone who is an actual professional that maybe hopefully can actually help you find the right path, for yourself. Don't become a victim, and don't beat yourself up because things maybe are not working out the way that you would like. So as we continue, we're coming to the back half. And I want to ask real quick with that, Clif. I did want to ask you a question in that, like, for men to support you, because like what we're doing here with our brother James, like what is it? What else does it look like? And what other steps can we as men, do to support each other in breaking that silence, day to day, man to man?
When you chop it up with a guy, it don't always have to be about sports or entertainment, right? Or cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really see what's going on with life. How you living? What's on your mind? I always use the word action plan a lot. What's your action plan going forward with your career, right? What goals do you have? So bring up different subjects than your normal, man cave or bar conversations. You know what I mean? Really see what's going on in life. Do they have kids? How their kids are doing? If they don't have kids, what's your opinion on that? Know them, right? Because whether they're one of your guys that you hang out with every weekend, or even if it's a family member, a cousin, or a brother. Listen, or your kids. Listen, my son is 22 years old, and so he is a growing man. I always want to know what's going on in his mind. He'll be sitting there. I'll be like, "Yo, what are you thinking about?" I just want to know. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Because times is crazy. Times is crazy
Mhm.
right now. You don't know what these young dudes is thinking, right?
Right.
Some of these young dudes be having depression going in their mind. You not even know. They'll
Mhm.
smile in your face. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But be messed up in the head. You
Right.
know, so as a father, as a guardian, as an uncle, as a older friend to these young dudes out here, just pick their brains. I pick all the Jalen's friends' brains. They come to the
Mhm.
crib, and I just ask them random questions just to see how they're gonna answer me. You know what I'm saying about life. You
Right.
know, and I feel you start from there, and I tune in with my son on it, so he does it right
Mhm.
because he's the one to take the rock and run with it. You
Right.
know, and one thing I always instill with his mind when he says, you know, Dad, I'm gonna be just like dude doing A, B, C, and D. I'll be like, yo, I love that, but nah, you're gonna be better than me, dog. You know what I'm
That
saying?
part.
And you're gonna
That
be
part.
better than me. I want you to be way better than your pops because
Mhm.
your pops didn't do this. You should do this. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So
I love that. I love
yeah,
that.
it starts from there.
Listen, I think for me, listening to all of this, and I thank everybody, James and Chelsea and everybody who's been putting in, the comments, and breaking the cycle. I think just listening, my take has kind of changed. It's more of now where the work really requires deliberate practice of small truths. Small truths within yourself and the things that you're dealing with. It's about being reliable enough for a friend, to finally put down his armor, to make him comfortable, for you to receive his story, but you want to receive his story without judgment, right? You just want to sometimes just be simple, and be a quiet witness to what they're going through and be that rock. Because sometimes that's all that it takes. Because sometimes when we talk, when we getting it out, we can actually solve our own problems just by having that quiet witness. And that's what I take away from this portion of the conversation. And man, look, time flies, man, and we are on the back end. But as we close out and move to close out, I gotta ask you, brothers, man, to help me bring this home. There's a man that's been listening and watching tonight, like James. There could be somebody who's going to play this back, audio sitting in his car, maybe alone, who's feeling like no one in the world can really understand him and his problems. So, Cliff, I'm going to start with you. And Sam, I'm going to ask you the same question. Do you have it? Not even a question. I want to give you an opportunity to say something directly to him. You know, at this point in time as we close out the show, and I'll start with you, Cliff.
Listen, man, you're not alone in this, right? Um, what you're going through, there is a testimony of someone that went through it as well. Tap in, right? Um, there's always a hotline that you could call if you feel like you have no one to 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 connect to talk to. All right. Tap in the two mics up, like Dame said. Don't make your own decision to do something selfish because you think no one is listening to you.
Mm,
Someone is always will listen. All right. That saying that you hear out there, when somebody say, "Hey, how you doing?" and they be like, "I can't complain, but if I did, who will listen?" I
mm,
will.
mm,
Dame will.
mm,
Sam will. Right? There's people out there that will listen. You know, when I got into managing, when I really started got into managing and owning my own business, it's about opportunities and connecting with people, right? I don't care the shade, color, that don't matter to me, right? It's just tapping into to learn an individual, have an individual learn from me, right? You can always learn from somebody
mhm,
every day. I don't care your age, your race, you can always learn from somebody. But if you're feeling depressed and you feel like you cannot make it and there is no one to talk to, email us. All right. We'll find out. Dane will definitely find out help for you. All right. Or if you have a lot of pride and you don't want to let it out because you think no one's going to listen, try letting it out and see what happens. You may be surprised. You may find someone that will give you that gem and give you that knowledge. Let it out. Don't prejudge someone, right? No prejudging. You don't know, you could be missing a valuable gem just by prejudging, think you're not going to get the feedback that you want to hear.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Sam, anything you'd like to share?
Well, I was going to go polar opposite of what Clif said, and I was just going to say, don't let your pride deprive you of the support that you may need.
That's good.
So, like, and I get it, because I was one of those guys too that was too. I let my pride get the best of me at times, and I was one of those I'm okay type of guys, knowing damn well that I wasn't okay. And in certain circumstances, I had to learn the hard way. So you might have a bigger support chain than you can even fathom right now, but it starts with you, and it starts with you just one little ounce of humility.
Humility?
Yeah, that word. Not human. Still cold as hell out here. But humility, it just takes 1 ounce of that to speak volumes of that type of progress that you need to move forward, and actually like rely on that support chain, and don't think that you're a burden. That's what we're here for, as friends, as family, that's the most important thing. And don't get me wrong, everybody got their own shit going on.
Right.
Right.
But like, part of that is having your six too. So don't think that you got something by yourself.
That's right. I cannot say thank you enough to my brothers in arms, my brothers, my family, for taking time to peel back some of the layers of their personal, not only lives, beliefs, to really have this conversation, because none of us, like I said earlier, are professionals. But I think there is healing and learning and having open conversations in safe spaces like this. And I would have not been able to bring this conversation to fruition without Sam and Clif. So thank you both for being a part of this journey tonight. I want to thank our audience for also participating. You can check us out every Tuesday night here at 8 p.m., live, as we do it each and every week. And before we finalize this close, I just want to take a minute to really say, to all the men watching or listening, and even our women, our sisters, please share this with someone. They can go back and watch the replay. They can listen to this on any of we're on every major streaming platform. If they want to take a moment to listen to this. But I do want to add that, the courage you have, really use your entire life to just basically bottle it up and hold it all in. That's the exact same courage you need to let some of it out. It's the same energy. Your vulnerability is really not your burden, in my opinion. It's really more your key to freedom. You have spent years upon years proving how tough you are by keeping silent, by not saying anything. Well, I think now it's time to prove your strength by becoming that pioneer of your own life and speaking your truth. And speak your truth with your tribe, your circle. Find someone that you feel comfortable and safe and letting go of this burden. No one can do the work for you, but just remember, you don't ever have to do it alone. So I thank you all for tuning in. And before we go, I can't go without letting my brothers go ahead and introduce themselves again on the way out. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to start with you, Clif, tonight. You want to take a moment, let people know where they can find you, where they can get you, what you got going on, and all that good stuff.
All the time. Your boy Clif Durham, TD3 Insurance Agency. You can email us info@td3insurance.com. You can find us on Facebook, TD3 Insurance Agency. You find my partner, Well, my other half that's killing the insurance game, Janika Durham Insurance Agency. Find her on Facebook. Find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, CSC, all things real estate, mortgage, and insurance. Catch me on Thursdays on that on Facebook as well, and I give you the current events on insurance. Shout out to Two Mics Up. Shout out to Damon Sam. Never forget my brothers in Richmond, Encore Insurance Group, my riders. Appreciate you guys, and we're gonna just keep it pushing each and every week, Dane. Each and every week, brother.
You heard it, man. Each and every week. So y'all can go ahead and catch up with Clif at TD3 Agency. He's doing it. He's the founder. He's the mentor. He's one of our community leaders, man. He's a co-host here at Two Mics Up. Y'all want to talk business, man? I mean, Clif's a good place to start. I ain't even gonna lie. He's up on his game, man. He's a good person to reach out to, a good person to talk to. Man, go ahead and get your insurance game up. Definitely not last and definitely not least, my brother, Big A Sam Adams. Sam, talk to him, bro, before we get out of here.
Let's see. What do I want to talk about? I just started streaming again, so my Twitch is back up. Sarge Gaming. Right now I'm currently going over Resident Evil 9. I was doing Marathon server crash this weekend, which was pretty good, but there's some issues behind that I'll probably do a video on. And of course, this is the week of the infamous BlurredCon. I just tried to put a Gundam helmet on, and that shit was fucking up my head. So that shit was squeezing my shit tight. I'll pull it up. I was gonna rock this. Let me put it in front of the camera, but that shit was too goddamn small.
Crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. I like that jump. Okay.
Anyways, from the 6th through the 8th, Crystal City will be hosting BlurredCon. It's all things pop culture, hip hop, anime, music, for us, by us.
We're in the building.
We're in the building.
Two Mics Up will be in the building Saturday. I'll be roaming around Thursday and Friday, just surveying the field and everything. But if you see us, full disclaimer too, one of my cosplays is doggone Major Pain, y'all. Please don't nobody come up to me for stolen valor. I swear that one, I served to begin with, but two, is just a cosplay outfit. I don't need nobody yelling at me and calling the police saying that I'm trying to imitate a major. I just have to throw that out there. But it should be a good time this weekend. And if you're around and if you see me, just say what's up. I know Duck's going to be there. He was in the chats. He got a couple of fits too. And his Let Me Talk podcast is actually having a panel too. I want to say that it's Saturday. I don't know if you're still there, Duck, but bring that up in the chat too. But if you have time, go visit Let Me Talk podcast while you over there on Saturday, I believe. And just go ahead and kick it with them and everything. But I'm looking forward to a good time. And that's all that I have.
Well, look here, we gonna come see you, bro. We gonna sit down. We gonna check you out, chop it up. Like I said, just my brother Sam. Osarge Gaming. You can catch him on IG. He's a 25-year veteran, man. Appreciate him for his service. As you can tell, he's a gamer. He's also a hell of a chef and a cook. He's a co-host here at Two Mics Up, man. He keeps it real with the talk all the time. If you haven't figured that out. So I appreciate Sam being here. So look, ladies and gentlemen, now while you're here, we really appreciate it if you go ahead and subscribe to the show if you haven't done so already. You can like, share, follow, subscribe to Two Mics Up online at twomicsup.com. You can follow us across all our social media, IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and X. You can hit me on LinkedIn if you like. I try to keep it busy, try to keep it grooving, man. We got so many things going on. That's all of our information. 4-time award-winning talk show. Hey, get behind us, man. It don't take nothing but one little click, watch one video, watch a short, whatever, man. Go ahead and help us get our YouTube side up, man. Keep them clicks coming. Let's get it going, man. We really appreciate your support. We have some other things going on this season as well. Next week, I think we're gonna be back. I think next week's show is you can only pick one. We're gonna be going like in a round robin madcap frenzy, about 30-40 questions, man. You can only pick one. So come back, join us. Join in on the fun, man. We're gonna start loosening it up now. We getting ready to get in the spring. We got March Madness coming. We got so many other great shows and great topics for you all. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us on Tuesday nights. Like we do at the end of every show, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with a couple of things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.
We out.
007.